Get me to
Okay.
walk into the ring like WWE.
Yeah, that would be cool. Just a lot
Uh,
of flair, you know. But I love it. This is perfect. So okay. Greetings everyone. Greetings. My name is Slayheim and today we're joined by Emcredible, the GM of Fable. How are you doing?
yeah, I'm really good. Thanks, Slayer. Thanks for having me. Yeah, like you said, I'm the GM of Fable. It's a Guild on Monsters and Memories. I also do a podcast. It's the Night Harbor podcast. We're sort of looking at monthly releases for that. It's only like the first sort of pilot episode out. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
thanks for having me. It's love talking to people. So
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you so much for doing this. This is gonna be great. Yeah, so just like, for people that don't know you yet, obviously you're a GM, you have your own podcast, that's great. But generally, like, who are you? Sort of how did you get into MMOs? What's your kind of origin story there?
Um, so basically, I started playing CRPGs many years ago, and I really loved the fantasy of it. Played a little bit of D&D third edition, um, and then I got into RuneScape, like many young folks, and I really enjoyed it. Um, but it even still now, it is very much a singular player game. You run around in the world, but you don't really do much unless you're trading. Um, but it was actually my dad that got me into MMOs as like a serious hobby. My dad used to play World of Warcraft,
Oh,
and he got me into that. It were a way that we could bond, I guess. Keep in contact and stuff like that. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I played, got into like classic and stuff, and fell in love with the whole. You start off with no gear, no name, and you build up your reputation. You build up that fantasy, and coming from CRPGs, that's pretty much where you start.
hmm.
You the Skyrim intro. You're a prisoner on a track, and then you start off with dragon attacks, and there's always a circumstance where something happens, and you have to be the hero. But the thing that I really liked about CRPG is you didn't have to be the hero. You could just be the villain. Uh, you know, you
Yeah.
could go around with whatever you wanted. And in MMOs, I found a similar liking where, you know, yeah, sure, you can go around as an arms warrior and use a two-handed sword. You can live that berserk lifestyle, or you could go around with a staff. You could use a staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can wear what you want. You can be who you want. Your character can be whoever you want. You can be, you know, you can literally role play as anything. And that's what really stuck with me with MMOs is that you're living in this high fantasy. A lot. I wouldn't say high magic. I'd say like a lot. Even though there's like wizards and stuff. Um, it's only a few individuals in like the lore and stuff that do have magical prowess. Most of the people are villagers. Most of the people can't even swing a sword, and that really reminded me of the games that I played growing up and the fantastical adventures that I used to run around playing as a kid. You know, running around with a stick and fighting my brother. Having like a sword fight with sticks. What I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love how, like I love games where the context of you being in whatever that world is, it makes sense. Like whether it's like a, medieval peasants and stuff, and you have like small incremental improvements, and it kind of makes sense for the world. You get like a better staff or like a better sword eventually, or you start getting armor, and I don't like it when you just immediately are on this crazy trajectory to become a hero, and then suddenly you're flying through outer space and going to different planets and stuff. I just like that hero's journey, I guess, of just humble beginnings. That's what I really really enjoy myself. To circle back to World of Warcraft, what did your dad play in World of Warcraft, and what did you play?
My dad played a night elf druid.
Hmm,
He was a tank at the time,
that's cool.
and I played a orc warrior.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
My brother played a troll hunter. Yeah, and
Okay.
he was called Moo Bob.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I think my name were
Good
like Ashog or something like that. Just
good
some random gibberish. Yeah.
good times, good times.
Mm.
Is your brother gonna be playing Monsters and Memories as well? Are you guys or
Yeah,
or are oh
he
yeah.
pretty much plays it every day with me. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I've got him into the alpha, and
Oh, nice.
we've been working things out, trying to figure things out.
Very
Sort of
cool.
like best routes, where to level, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
So,
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely fun to kind of play with your like very close friends or, very close family.
oh,
I
100%.
I wish I had that. My family, they don't understand video games, much
No,
less much less
they're missing
MMOs.
out. They're missing out.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay, interesting. That's very cool. And so, what keeps you in MMOs today? Even after all these years, you seem like a very well-rounded guy that you've played so many games and different things. Like, why sort of old school kind of classic MMOs, like things that people find it tedious, some would say, like a lot of these old school design philosophies. But what keeps you so interested?
To be honest, it's the persistence of the game. So I used to be quite competitive in WoW, and I got bored of chasing the 6 month cycle of gearing and then getting everything replaced and gearing and getting everything replaced. And I was someone were complaining in out of context chat on Alpha, and they were saying, "Oh, someone linked a dagger and it were like one dexterity, right?"
Hmm.
And they were like, "Oh wow, such an upgrade!" And I were like, "Yeah, but the one dexterity matters. So the difference between one dex and two dex, it matters. And when you go from 6 million strength to 7 million strength, no one cares, because no one cares about how much strength you've got, because the stats are irrelevant, you know. And it is, like I say, it's the relevance, the persistence, the the fact that things sort of matter. Like even in classic WoW, a lot of people used to say that things matter in classic. Um, but honestly, I kind of disagree, because once you get to Molten Core, you're replacing your gear with Blackwing Lair, and then you're replacing it with Naxxramas gear. And yeah, there's some niche pieces of loot, like the Feral Druid helmet, which would let you retain energy when you transform.
Hmm.
But them items are very few and far between. And I kind of liken it uh to Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. The combat is heavy. It feels like you are just an adventurer. You feel.
Yeah.
Um. So for me, what brings me to the game and to keeping on it is the persistence that Not necessarily so much as in like Guild Wars, where I can go away for 10 years and come back and everything's still relevant, but the upgrades matter, it matters that I'm in the world, that you're in the world, and that these people that are there, and even when you've got a community, there's communities within communities within communities,
Yeah.
and I think it makes a really good blend of the community as well, but also like the vibe. Um, it sort of feels like they said it a lot in some of the streams. A third place is what it feels like, and in the Western world, third places don't really exist anymore. Even back to my childhood. So I'm only 34, and even in my childhood, we had third spaces. We had. So I live in the UK, so we had St John's Ambulance. We had the Army Cadets, Scouts, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Even like youth clubs, after school clubs, and nowadays in the Western world, they don't exist. I just don't know if there's like no funding for it, but um, yeah, I keep coming back because I love the game, I love the community. It's a home away from home. It's escapism, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's important too. Like that's part of the special sauce whenever a world kind of persists without you, and that's what kind of makes it feel alive. It's community. There's other players doing stuff. It feels alive. Yeah, it feels like another place you're going into for sure, for sure. And I mean, I guess this can apply for monsters and memories as well. I'd like to get to that because I mean, that's obviously our thing, but just in general, like, do you have any kind of favorite zones, favorite dungeons that you remember really stand out to you, or maybe even like an item that you worked really hard to get, that kind of thing?
Um,
I don't know there's probably a lot.
yeah, there's probably a lot. I've in WoW, there's an add-on called all the things, and it
Hmm.
literally it catalogs all of the
Hmm.
items in the game, and I've got like 78% or something.
Wow, that's
Um,
awesome. And I know like transmog is huge in that game, right, too. So after a while, it
yeah,
just
yeah,
becomes like a fashion thing. So even like you said, like very rare gear from like Naxxramas or whatever, you you always have that to show
yeah.
off. Pretty cool.
Um, honestly, one of my favorite zones is unironically Elwyn Forest. It's it's serene, but you've got like the threat of stuff. I think it's just the perfect hero's journey start point.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
I actually really like Night Harbor in Monsters and Memories. I spend way too much time in there. I used to play a game called Dofus. Not sure if you ever heard of it.
Uh,
So basically, it's like a tactical isometric MMO. It was made by Ankama Games, which is a French company,
oh,
and me and my brother spent about 6 months just playing in the main city because there'd be monsters in the main city, and they'd be like you'd go into the sewers, there'd be like a mine and stuff like that. And yeah, obviously, like we were kids at the time and didn't really understand what we were doing, but it's got like a special place. Not even just like nostalgia, but it's like it's so well built,
hmm.
and it kind of reminds, like I say, it's like with Night Owl, but it's just so well built. I don't.
Oh,
I've been to Failing Drill once. I didn't like it.
I'll have to check it out. That sounds really interesting. But yeah, I definitely there's definitely a big difference between Draw and Night Harbor for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. It is big. It feels like a huge city. There's so much to see. I kind of feel like I have the horse blinders on. I kind of know where to go for like my class trainer, like where the bank is, where I can sell a couple things, and I just like to go back out. I haven't really like explored the whole city. There's a lot you can
Yeah,
do apparently. There's hidden dungeon apparently. There's you can get to 60 basically in Night Harbor
yeah.
specifically. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm still finding new things in Night Harbor. I just, it's crazy.
It's great. It's great though that you can feel like that can be a home because it's very important. It's very important to kind of like the location that you're going to be spending so much time in, and just kind of coming
Yeah,
back to. I love that feeling. Just coming back after a long haul as a rogue with like 9,000 copper and I'm getting ready to put it in the bank. It's great. Just okay, so just a couple more general like MMO questions and then we'll
mm.
kind of get into it some more. But so, obviously now we have so many modern MMOs. You can't take back like 20 years of MMO development plus, but what do you think that modern MMOs lost the most? Was it danger, social reliance, identity, mystery, sort of meaningful time investment? Probably all those things.
I think it is probably a mixture, but I think the biggest thing is social reliance. Everything these days is made for the single player, basically.
Yeah.
Even like in WoW, they're pushing it. So there's like the follower dungeons and stuff. There's story mode for the raid content. I know Final Fantasy 14 have the same thing, and the the ability to solo should be an achievement. It shouldn't be the norm. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to, a big collector. So what you used to be able to do is you could go back onto, let's say you're in TBC, you could go back to Naxxramas and you could fight the mobs in there, and they'd be tough to solo, but you could do it. And nowadays, it's just it doesn't. Nothing really feels like a challenge. Like there's never a reason to go back. There's never no. There's never no solo thing. Like I were really excited for the solo shuffle mode in World of Warcraft. Now, the name solo shuffle, you think one versus one, right? But it's not. It's a three versus three, and you rotate between teams.
Oh,
So
interesting.
at, fir- at first, it's 1, 2, and 3 versus 4, 5, and 6. And then it's 4, 2, and 3 versus 1, 5, and 6. And it basically goes through until everybody is being on an opposite team with someone else. So it mixes and matches, and then you get a score based on how well you've done.
Oh, interesting.
But it's still even like there's no solo ability to anything. Um, One thing that I do like is it's not really an MMO, even though Steam likes to say it is, but in Destiny 2, there's a lot of content where people solo things and you get these emblems or shaders. Shaders are like dyes for your gear. And you get an achievement for doing the content solo, and flawless is like not dying,
Hmm.
and they're still made for 3 people, so it's not like, oh, it's just easier with one person. You still get that challenge of doing things. But in many MMOs nowadays, I played like Lost Ark. There's not really many MMOs that I haven't played. But I think the big thing is the social reliance. There's no need for a group anymore because I guess people just don't like grouping. I can understand why, there's arseholes everywhere, but um, you know, That's
Yeah,
why you play a single player game. You play a single player game for that. You play a game that's got a good story. You don't play Hello Kitty Island Adventure. You know what I mean? You play The
yeah.
Witcher or you play Cyberpunk.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And, I appreciate your perspective as someone who's played many different games. For me, I just feel like I've only played probably 3 or 4 MMOs that, I mean, they were meaningful to me, but it's nice to have like that broad perspective. So, and I agree with you. Like, if you take the time to form a party, you kind of assemble a team and you go, it's more meaningful because you kind of get to know those people, you kind of struggle with those people, and then maybe a few weeks later, you see them in town or you kind of see them around. And it's like, oh man, do you remember when we did this dungeon together? Like, it just matters more. Like, instead of like, so Final Fantasy 14, I have probably the most time in Final Fantasy 14 just because of where I was in my life. But yeah, now you just like auto queue to a dungeon. It assembles the team for you. Usually there's like people from another server, you've never seen them or know them, and you just kind of go through it. Nobody talks to each other. You need or greed the item, and then you never see those people again. And it's just, yeah, it's like you said, like when you make something so solo friendly, which I mean, it's an interesting thing about Final Fantasy 14, for example, but like it really does take away from the social reliance. It's more like the story's about you, the hero, and everyone else is just
Yeah,
kind of like a inconvenience.
yeah. You're the
But
chosen one. Everyone else is an NPC.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That's a beautiful way to put it. And like you mentioned earlier about solo being kind of a difficult achievement. I like it when that's done right. Like, like a rare title or something, a rare there's a dungeon in Final Fantasy 14 called a deep dungeon. It's designed for 4 players and it's like really difficult content designed for a group. But you have the option to go in solo and it's very, very difficult, and that's like an achievement that I was able to complete. So it's nice. And then even like you reminded me something too on World of Warcraft. I don't know what the format is these days, but at least when I was playing, it was like 10 man and 25 man. So I played a discipline priest and or a holy slash discipline priest, and we did Naxxramas, and there was an achievement called the Undying if you could do it with 10 men without anybody dying, and I have that title. I still have it to this day. I believe it's no longer in the game, but just I would love to see stuff like that kind of in Monsters and Memories in a way, or like some of these more like indie MMO projects, just something very rare that's difficult to do that only like a few people have it. I think that's just so interesting.
yeah. I totally agree. I don't want them to bring in achievements because it puts the game on the railroad.
Oh,
So then people
absolutely.
they go for it says complete Tomb of the Last Wormsbane. You're like, oh well, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
But what I think they should do is RuneScape. Okay, RuneScape has skill cloaks, so you get to 99, you get a cloak.
Hmm.
I do believe now that 99 isn't the cap, and there's more onwards from that. But I think they should reward you with. So instead of getting an achievement, so let's say let's say I solo bone construct, right? Then I should be able to, if I instead of getting an achievement, I solo him and he drops an item. He drops his head, and I can wear it as a helmet. It doesn't have to have any stats on it. It can just be, you know, I walk into Night Harbor. I've got Bone Construct's head on. I'm swinging my dick around. Everyone knows how fucking awesome I am because I've got Bone Construct's head. You know what I mean? It should just be some cosmetic nonsense that doesn't mean anything, but someone can be like, "Oh, how did you get that?" And you're like, "Oh, I solo Bone Construct," and they're like, "Oh my god, you solo fucking Bone Construct!" And it should just be nonsensical rubbish that it just looks cool or it looks unique or you know. And I know a lot of games they do that, but the stuff that's nonsensical and looks really cool, they put on the fucking cash shop. You know what I mean? And it's £20 to get Princess Peach's crown. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
it's got no value to it. Whereas, you know, your RuneScape skill cloaks, they mean something because, you know, you had to grind for them. You know, I wanted to put in a legally distinct RuneScape party hat for all of the testers. So if you test M&M when the game launches into EA, you'd get a legally distinct RuneScape party hat, and it's just a cosmetic. It's got no armor class on it or anything, but you know, it's just ego points. You know, oh, I was here. It's just I was here, and it's a community thing because, you know, 5 years later, you're walking through Night Harbor, and I see Billy Bob, with his alpha tester legally distinct RuneScape party hat, and I'm like, oh wow, you know, I was there. I was there 9,000 years ago when the Earth was created.
Yeah.
But no one else seemed to agree. So the thread just got like washed away on Discord, and then that was it. So
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. I really I don't know much about RuneScape. It's just I've heard the legends. It's like an amazing game. There's a huge resurgence about it, but I personally have never played. But very cool. Maybe someday.
yeah,
Um, so I want to okay, this is something I'm very interested in. And so actually I appreciate your perspective as someone who's played a lot of these type of games, but do you think that MMO classes have been solved at this point? Tank, heal, DPS. Do you think there's any room to innovate? And if so, like where is that room? What do you think there?
that is a very good question. So I mean, let's break it down. So we've got tank, healer, DPS. So if we go to DPS, we've got physical and magical, right? And we've also got summons, I guess.
Hmm.
So even if we go from physical, we've got, you know, ranged, melee. You know, you break melee down even more. You've got swords and you've got punching. So you've got monk, fighter, daggers, rogue. You know, you take it back out. You've got range. You've got archer. You know, take it back out even more. You look at the magical side. You've got wizard, and then you go to the melee magical side, and you've got paladin or spellblade. Um,
Yeah.
even in, I think in many MMOs they do limit the classes, but there is a lot of classes in other MMOs that are distinct. So in Rift, there's a warrior class that would put dots on the target. You know, but the dots aren't a unique mechanic. You know, that's like World of Warcraft Warlock. They use damage over time. I think that the only like new classes that we'll see is basically a reflavor of other classes. So a ranger that heals. You know, they shoot arrows into you, and the arrows heal you. It's still the same kind of vibe as everything else. It's just a new twist.
Gotcha.
One thing that I don't see much of is like a very heavy summon based class. So in classic World of Warcraft, you'd have a demonology warlock or a hunter, and they'd have a singular pet. And in retail World of Warcraft, the demonology warlock will summon sort of like an army of demons, but they aren't permanent. And I think that can be a bit of a problem because then you're not really bothered about the gameplay choice. You just summon things, you go through your rotation, and that's it. However, in Guild Wars, the ranger is more akin to like a druid. and they have a specialization where you can basically combine two pets. So the pets have all got their own unique ability, and you can combine different pets. So you can combine a cat with a fire lizard, and then it'll be a fire cat that scratches and does fire damage.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that I don't really see. And probably the other thing that I don't really see is many sort of like vocal based classes. So like Rift, for example, there's a warrior, and the warrior has like shouts and stuff, and you can heal with that. And even now in Guild Wars, they brought back the Paragon, which is a Guild Wars 1 class, but that heals by shouting at people.
Oh, very
You know,
cool.
you have bard usually, and bards, like, you think of vocal, you think of bard, and there was like the song and dance kind of thing. That's another one you don't really see as well, is like dancer. You never really see. You think of, you know, it's like we're playing D&D. You think of performance and charisma as a bard, and the bard is using a lute. You know, it's never a bard where, you know, wearing Kiss makeup and got an electric guitar, or, you know, maybe a bard that's just got a triangle or a tambourine. You know what I mean? Or the performance could be, you know, it doesn't have to be songs. It could be spoken word or rap, or, you know, it could be a poem or dancing, or, you know, I think there is that avenue to explore from, but I think a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people would like it. I don't know why, because you see a lot in JRPG where people use the dancer class, but it's all just a reskin or other things. You know, they still do the same damage or healing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Very
There
interesting
could
take, because
be.
if you think about it, yeah, sorry to interrupt you. It's like if you think like music is such a varied thing, there's different instruments. Yeah, there's singing, there's vocals, there's like, yeah, there could be so many like offshoots or kind of subclasses of that. And plus like language, voice. It's very interesting actually. Yeah.
You never really see sort of like sacrificial classes either. Like, I don't know. I I pull my arm off and I use my arm as a weapon. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm grabbing myself by the wrist and I'm hitting you with the arm that I've just ripped off. You never really see anything like that. Where like, I know
Yeah.
the Necromancer has got a bit where they like sacrifice some of their health and give mana back, but it's never really utilized as a full class mechanic. It's always just like a little bit of a gimmick, you know what I mean? Like, oh well, like life tap, like World of Warcraft life tap. You sacrifice your health, you get mana back, but that's it. There's nothing,
Yeah.
you know.
That would be very extreme. Yeah.
It would be, yeah, like, but yeah, maybe that's why it's not been solved. Maybe it's, you know, it's too complicated, but, you know,
Yeah. No, that's very
you don't.
interesting. And oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? If it already exists. So.
Yeah, I think the balance is really good, and what I really like is that like Monsters and Memories, for example, this is something that was kind of lost for a while. Is like that the fourth pillar, because you know we have tank, heal, DPS, but they really bring back like the support classes like buffing, debuffing, kind of CC, crowd control. You know, I think maybe you'll agree, but like what I've seen in more modern games is everything kind of deteriorates to just, you know what, let's just do as much damage as possible. Um, Whereas like Monsters and Memories, like EverQuest, for example, too, and even like maybe maybe not classic World of Warcraft to that extent, but like there was just a lot more creative ways to deal with a situation rather than just the best thing you could possibly do is just like a damage move. You know, I really like how they bring back CC and sort of support, and and honestly too, I think like to some extent like the how the racial aspects kind of play with it. You know, like ogres are stronger, so they're naturally like better warriors than, let's say, like a gnome. But a gnome is like a smarter, so they're better casters and stuff like that. It's interesting like that kind of makes it to where we're all kind of unique and have different styles and whatnot. But I love that support and CC is back. And I'm just curious too, just kind of talking out loud. It'd be cool if they like shield healers are kind of a thing, you know, like damage shields. Like I know that was kind of interesting in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, prevention as opposed to reaction. Yeah.
That's right. Yep, mitigation, definitely. And how do you feel about the class balance in Monsters and Memories so far? Are you happy with it?
I am, to be honest. Yeah, I actually, when I played Rift, I actually played a bard in Rift,
Hmm.
and bard in Rift is pretty much like a support class. But I used to, I used to be able to heal more than the dedicated healers. I don't know if they were just like shit, but I do really enjoy that support playstyle, and I do really like it. It's very interesting because, like I say, you bring a unique tool, whereas especially with World of Warcraft, so you've got a demon hunter, and the demon hunter brings a magic increase debuff, but then a monk brings a physical damage increase debuff. The warrior brings an attack power buff. Priest brings a stamina buff. Blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
Or why can't you just have a class that brings it all? So they bring every buff, and then you don't have. You just need one of them. And they tried with the augmentation evoker. However, nobody likes it. Um, and it's either the worst DPS or the best DPS. And especially in Mythic Plus and stuff like that, it is just it's DPS. It's all they care about. You know, even as a tank, you don't play as a tank. You just play as a DPS. As a healer, you heal, but you are expected to damage all the time, and it is just damage. It's just go 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 go, and it's. I think it gets
Yeah.
really tedious because then you don't really have an identity. You
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
you're just a DPS that has got a different flavor. You know, it's only really in raids that you heal, and you know some people don't like that. You know, they've played a cleric for 40 years in Dungeons and Dragons, and that's what they want to play. They don't want to. They don't want to have to spam smite to be competitive. They just want to play
Yeah. Yeah.
as a healer. You know.
And you know what? I'm of that opinion too. Like I agree, because yeah, that's when you get into like the homogenization of classes, as they say now. It's like everyone can do everything. Like, you know, I can tank, heal, DPS, whatever. So like, why does the rest of the party matter? I like the idea of like, okay, you know, like you can do something that I can't do, but I can do something that you can't do. Why don't we team up together and like, you know, your class takes care of this. Yeah, I love that. I love the kind of slower pace, more strategic combat, and yeah, it really does
Yeah.
feel more like D&D and kind of plays out that way for sure. Yeah, it's when the line is
Yes.
blurred too much, it's just no fun.
Yeah. I watched Criddle's recap this morning, and someone commented it in this stream about combat, and the answer was basically that they see combat as more as preparation as opposed to reaction,
Hmm.
and that to me is more like D&D because you know you go into a fight and you prepare as a wizard. You prepare your spells into your book, so you prepare your spell slots, And obviously, yeah, there is still reactionary stuff. You've got a saving throw, but when I think this is honestly, I like Wildstar, but I think this is honestly the downfall with Wildstar is so all of the elements in the fights were telegraphed. So if you died, it's because you were stood in the fire.
Oh yeah.
And the fire was a big red rectangle, and if you stood in it, you died. And there's no bullshitting. Oh, I weren't stood in the fire. You obviously clearly were, but then it sort of becomes like a reactionary game. You're not really preparing for anything. You're just reacting to what's happening on screen. And to me, that's more like an FPS. You know what I mean? Someone comes, if you're sniping and you see someone coming to the left, you're not going to wait until they're in your crosshair. You're going to move to the left and you're going to shoot them. You're reacting to what's happening.
Yeah.
Whereas with Monsters and Memories, there's a little bit of reaction, but it's more. The reaction is more. Oh, this fucking group has started a train. We need to move. We need to move out of the way, otherwise we're going to die. You know what I mean? It's not really moving out of things, or I guess there's like there's fears and casts and like Tim and Bell in Wormsbane in the church. He casts gate, so you've got to interrupt him if there's mobs up there, and
Yeah.
I think that sort of does help. It keeps things more engaging because you're not just auto attacking till the guy's dead,
Hmm.
but you still have to keep aware of your surroundings, and you're not just playing like a rhythm game, basically.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. Um, I want to get into like a couple sort of guild related questions, or kind of like from your
Ooh,
from your perspective as a guild leader,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then we're gonna really dive into Monsters and Memories, because I know that's kind of the meat of it. I know that's what you're most excited about. But
Yeah.
so basically, like, what's the story behind Fable? How did it start? Is it a relatively new guild, just like in Monsters and Memories? Is that something you've always done, like from your history in MMOs? What's Fable's identity, I guess, and if you really had to sell it to me?
Yeah, so basically, I started in one of the playtests last year, and I didn't really see many guilds that weren't sort of circle jerk EverQuest guilds.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
a lot of them are, or join the boys. We play P99 and Quam, and
Yeah. I
that's
guess.
great. That's great
Yeah.
if but these people are all friends already. There's no sort of new community. There's a group that play regular together, and I'm pretty sure these guys have only met each other through Monsters and Memories, and that is what the guild is basically. It's a Monsters and Memories guild. We don't play any other games. Um, I've seen some guilds that are listed, and it's oh, join our multi-gaming community. I'm
Oh yeah.
sorry, but if I don't want to have to listen to you spamming notifications about Warframe. If I want to know about Warframe,
I love that.
I'll join a Warframe Discord. I just care about Monsters and Memories. I just want to use it for Monsters and Memories. And one thing that sort of it bleeds into sort of real life as well is sort of single use like devices, tools, communities. Um, Everything nowadays is, oh well, it's a mobile phone and it can tell you time and you can ring off it, and you you press number 9 and it cooks your dinner for you. You press number 8 and it wipes your arse. Like, I can do all them things. I don't need it to do everything for me. I just need it to be one thing. I just need it to be a guild where I can talk about monsters and memories, and I know that all 110 people are playing monsters and memories. They're not off playing other things. And this is one of the biggest issues that I've had with Destiny is you join a clan and there's 500 people in it and there's only 2 playing Destiny. And you can't find a group, you can't do anything because people aren't playing. And I understand that, people take breaks and they play other things, but when you cater to everybody, you cater to nobody. So with Fable, we cater to monsters and memories. That's all we do. We're just a casual guild. There's no pressure. If you want to play a Smite Paladin, a Smite Cleric, and you want a max intel, you can do that here. You can do that. We don't care. So only thing we ask is that you're not a cunt. We don't accept cunts. So yeah, that's it basically.
Okay, interesting. And you know what? You touched on something that's really beautiful and it's very important to me as well. So like for me, I don't have a lot of friends kind of outside of gaming. I have like one real life friend of mine, Kazrax. He's interested. We played EverQuest together, we played World of Warcraft together. And so he's going to play, but generally, like, I don't have a lot of people that I know. So I kind of went into this just because I'm like purely interested and we can kind of get into it. But, there's people who, like, for example, there's people that play World of Warcraft that aren't interested in EverQuest and, Final Fantasy 11 or, Pantheon, Adrialon. There's all these like other different games that they're not really interested in each other. So people are just going to play what they're going to play. And that's fine. I respect that. But for me, like I always say this too, like I turn on the stream and whatever, and I'm just at the mercy of whoever's on or whoever I meet. And you touched on something very important is that like, people are already friends or they're coming from some other game and they're trying it together and the circle is kind of closed off, and I love organic interaction. I truly love like just being able to meet people out into the world and they're not already with like 10 people in Discord on voice chat hanging out and just in their own little bubble, So I love that. I love that. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I was going to ask you what your so basically your leadership style, it's more laid back, kind of like a family guild of people who are interested in kind of achieving the same goal of just kind of enjoying the game together.
Yeah, we've got a few people that are playing with, I'm playing with my brother, for example, in Monsters and Memories. I probably should have worded that differently because that sounds a bit wrong.
Oh, no
But
worries.
yeah, there's a few people that are playing the video game with members of their family. They're not playing with the family, but yeah, we've got a few families that are playing together on Monsters and Memories.
Beautiful.
I think there's a guy and his son that are playing. It's only him and his son that are in the alpha. He's got 2 other friends that they're not in. There's I think there's like a couple or there's some roommates that are playing together. But yeah, it's literally just like I say, it's a chill place. No clicks, no barriers. Just come and play. When we've got some incredible people in the guild. So one of our members is Clank. He's like level 59. Like a 59 Beastmaster. He's the
Interesting.
highest level on Crivia
Oh,
when
wow.
that launched. We also have got 2 out of 3 of the wealthiest people on Crivia as well.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We used to actually have GM Trent in the guild as well.
Oh wow! Shout out to GM Trent. That's awesome.
Yeah. So before before he was a GM, he used to be in our guild, and then yeah, obviously he's a professional standards. He had to leave and not show any allegiance and stuff.
Oh, I totally understand. That's cool. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I've seen you guys around a lot. Yeah, I see people with the
yeah,
little
we're
tag.
we're 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 absolutely everywhere. We're like rats.
No, no, it's great. It's beautiful, and there are guilds that just kind of spam recruitment messages and just want to get everybody in, but you don't really know how people are gonna be. I guess maybe in the beginning, I've been a guild leader in games before, but I think like now is kind of like a quote unquote content creator or streamer. There's just so much other stuff going on that I need to pay attention to that I don't think it would be good for me. So I'd much rather just kind of play and let someone else handle all the leadership kind of a stuff. But no, it's good to be kind of laser focused on kind of attracting the right kind of people and people with the same mentality and yeah.
Yeah, for me it was always I've sort of been leading guilds for about 25 years. Made a lot of mistakes with guilds, but one thing that I'm really focused on with Monsters and Memories is just being the guild master. Being the face of Fable, and I see it a lot in with guilds. Is a lot of guild leaders try to wear too many hats. So
Mm,
there's the guild master, but they're also the raid leader, and they also handle recruitment. And you know, in my opinion, you can't be a good guild master and a raid leader. So the a guild master is a friendly face that people can talk to, and they're welcoming. They'll listen to your problems, they'll help you out. Whereas a raid leader is a drill sergeant.
mm,
You say move left, and everybody moves left. They don't say, there's no question about it. And if I'm in a raid and you're slacking, and I say Slayheim, I said move left. I said fucking move left. It's not me trying to have a go at you. You know what I mean? It's just me trying to lead the raid.
yeah.
And then after the raid ends and I put the guild master hat back on, you're thinking, oh, fucking that Emcredible, what a fucking prick. I was already moving left. I was moving left, and you fucking shouting at me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it blurs that line, and it is hard because as a guild master, you need to be approachable, but as a raid leader, you've got to organise 25 idiots. You know what I mean? To move left and do everything. At not a military standard, but like a military like standard where people move in sequence and they do things at the right time, and you know you are reacting as much as you're preparing. And
Yeah.
like I say, I think too many guild leaders try to wear too many hats. They try to do everything, and sometimes you just you've just got to hold your hands up and just say, I'm only I'm only a medieval cat wearing a suit of armor. I can't do everything. So
No, it's beautiful. I love it. That's very interesting. I never thought about it that way. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And yeah, I was just laughing a little bit because yeah, it's a really cute cat wearing armor, and it was calling me out. I love it.
yeah,
um, no, very interesting. So yeah, from your experience, how do you keep a guild together after kind of like that honeymoon phase ends? And kind of what fractures guilds the most often? How do you prevent that from your experience? How do you handle conflict, loot drama, ego stuff, cliques, burnout? kind of thing?
Um, so to answer them one by one.
Oh yeah, sorry to
The
throw a
honey,
lot at you.
it's okay. It's okay. The honeymoon phase is hard because it depends on the content cycle of the game that you're playing.
Mm.
If the content cycle is like retail WoW and it's 3 months and then dead for 6, you can only expect your guild to be around for 3 months. People pay, you know, they're also spending the time where they could be spending the time on other games, doing other things, and the majority of people, if they work, they come home, they want to relax,
Mm-hmm.
and not everyone wants the instant gratification, but if they feel like nothing is happening, then they're going to leave because why would I waste my time in something that's not going to happen? Especially with new guilds, because I don't know you from Adam, so I don't have that relationship. So why would I stay to be friends with? To just it's different when you were friends, but when you were friends, you sort of leave as a group. You don't leave one by one and all fracture everywhere else. So yeah, I don't think there really is a way to keep a guild together after the honeymoon phase, depending on the game. You can do social events, play other games,
Mm-hmm.
but then that's tough because if you're not a friend group, then it can be hard to stem into other games, which is why you have these massive communities of people that are playing hundreds of different games, but
Mm.
none of them talk, none of them
Yeah.
interact.
Yeah.
They're not friends. They're just
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah.
What fractures a guild most often is the content cycle. If there's nothing to do, then people leave. And the second biggest thing is arseholes. So there's a lot of people that have really big egos, and that can be a problem because then if it doesn't get dealt with, then people get upset and they leave. One of the other things that I think fractures a lot of guilds is politics. So, I'm not getting into it too much because I know what YouTube is like for demonetization, but it's nobody. There's a lot of people that are focused on who you are. If you get in, and they are vehemently focused on your identity outside of the game. However, most people don't actually care.
Yeah.
They see you as Slayheim, a dwarf paladin. They don't really care that I don't know. You know what I mean? They don't really care that you're an immigrant or that you're trans or anything like that. They just care that you're Slayheim, and you're going to show up to raid. That's all they really care about.
Yeah. And that's, you know
But
what?
there is some.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well,
That's kind of how it was for me playing EverQuest as a kid. It's like, hey, I don't even know what you look like. I don't care. I want to get this dungeon done. I want to go on this quest. I just want to play. Life is busy, work is kind of hectic, stressful, whatever. We come to these things. I mean, at least I do. I just want to enjoy myself. Yeah, I don't want to have any of that real life stuff in it. I mean, I guess it's maybe comes natural. Like if you're playing with the same people, you kind of really get to know them. You kind of have those conversations or whatever. But generally, I'm not coming into it caring about that kind of stuff. But anyway, please continue. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, we had this. When I played Season of Discovery in World of Warcraft, and we had someone in the guild who
Oh yeah, I
was
love
trans.
juicy guild drama stories. Yeah, please go ahead.
We had someone in the guild who, and she lived in Russia. Okay, we had someone from, and every day he was messaging in guild about and like going on and on and on, and it were like, oh, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it was just like every single day. And I said to him, I said, what's your problem? And he's like, oh, I blah 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 blah. Uh, when my kid goes to school, they say, oh, hello everybody, and saying hello instead of saying hello boys and girls. When I were at school, they said hello everybody anyway. You know, I mean, even in the 90s, they never said like, oh, hello boys and girls. And this
Mhm.
guy would just, no one else cared about it, right? No one else cared that she was, all they cared about is that this guy is just fucking yapping in guild chat, just making people uncomfortable. And it's just like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's like nobody, like I said a minute ago, no one really cares who you are. They care that you're Slayheim and you're going to show up for raid. You know, it's crazy because in classic WoW at the start, in the original one of my guild leaders, he was a police officer, right?
Mm.
And we were all like friends with him, didn't really know how. And then one day we saw in the news that he'd been arrested. It was his wife that outed him. And, you know, we never thought anything of it. And, you know, it wasn't until after we found out that, you know, opinions became apparent. But you don't really think about them. You know, you don't really think, oh, you know, who is this guy? What's he up to? Whereas nowadays, it's, you know, oh, you know, everyone's trying to be your friend, and everyone's trying to know everything about you. There's no mystery to anyone. You know,
Yeah.
it's like when you talk to someone, it's, you know, oh, my name's. It's just tiring. Honestly, it's so tiring because, like I said, no one. I don't think anyone actually really cares about it, and I think that there's just a few bad eggs that just make it horrible for everyone else, and I think that is the biggest concern with guilds. We had someone in Fable actually, um, and we had someone in the guild, and she and we had someone come into the guild, and he was like, "Oh, it's a sin, blah blah blah. God says this, God says that," and it made like people uncomfortable, and I just, like I say, I just don't get it. Like, I kicked him. Like, I think it's like space for an hour. I tried to talk to him about it, or he just weren't interested. So he just had to go. So, you know, my best advice is if someone starts causing friction, just get rid of him. Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
You try to talk to the guy, try to handle it, you know, but it wasn't working, so
Some people just, some people are too stupid to be helped, and some people just don't want help. So, you know, you always get your manic depressants who don't want any help. You know, woe is me, the whole world's against me. You know, they're never going to accept any help, and some people are just too stupid to help. So, as a little fun fact is, So you know the medical term of in America, they actually reduce the requirement. So it used to be 85 IQ, and they lowered it to 70 because I think it were about 60% of the populace would have been classed as, which obviously you can't have that as a nation, because then you've got a nation of idiots. But yeah, if you get it, it's hard because like some people don't mean it intentionally. They don't mean to be causing issues. They don't understand things, but it's not for me to explain to someone else about something that they don't understand. If you don't understand or why you want to play a DPS cleric, that's not for me to explain. That's for you to solve. So if you've got someone who's a bit of a sourpuss or a party pooper, just get rid of them. It's just way easier. Because then you're not gonna lose other people as well.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Let's see here. How are we doing on time?
I've got plenty of time. Sorry, I know I went off on a bit of a tangent there.
Oh, it's okay.
You could probably edit out that last half an hour.
So let's see. I was gonna ask you. Pretty much, kind of told me about Fable for the most part. Obviously, hardcore versus casual. That we kind of covered that. Sorry, I'm just looking at my list. So, what's your plan? When when the game launches, like with Fable in general, I'm assuming you're just gonna gather up the people currently in the guild. Are you guys going to focus on leveling, crafting, economy, raid preparation?
So,
Is there already kind of like a good distribution of classes or that kind of thing?
I believe so. Yeah, we've got so the plan at the minute is we've got a relatively balanced setup. I think the least played, we've got like a Discord robot where people can set a role, and that's what it gives them as a class, just so we can gauge sort of who's playing what, how many of what we've got. The least played is Inquisitor, which is understandable. It's
Yeah.
it's the same on the global populace as well. So for us, at least for me anyway, it's more leveling groups. I would like to raid, but it's also tough because I don't want to be the one to go into something, and I think it might just be sort of what's the word? Like pugs, like pickup groups. It might sort of be more like that, but for me, I just want to be sort of known as a presence, as Fable, as a presence on the guild, and just sort of do it that way. I know we've got some people that are sweats. We've got some people that have had a bit of an issue with some other guilds on there. Some guilds sort of exploiting and stuff.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I can't really go too much into that one. I have got screenshots of it. But yeah, we will basically be going wherever they're not.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, and then just a couple more guild related questions here, and then we'll like move on to the meat of it. But so yeah, what are your goals for Fable going into Monsters and Memories? What does success look like for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think success looks like a active community, sort of where, because we are an international guild, it's sort of you can log on and you can have a chat or group with someone sort of at any time. It's not necessarily if you're playing it at 3 a.m., PST, there's bound to be people on from Europe, and it's about being able to get into groups with little to no friction. So that's what a success would be for me. Is sort of having a good presence. There's some guilds that are unsavory, and I think that's also part of like the click thing. They play P99, or they've come from EverQuest, and they're all in their own clique, and this is how this goes, and
Yeah, it's interesting.
a cleric is played one way, and if you want to do something else, then you can't.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see how like all that is going to play out with like the open world, no instancing, kind of camps or like raid mobs just being out in the open, and people have to figure that out. There's definitely bound to be some clashes for sure.
100%, especially with people like the Lazy Peon and Force Gaming have mentioned Monsters and Memories in some of their videos recently. Force has got like over 1 million subs. So if people follow them, that'll be interesting, and hopefully Asmongold doesn't come over. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the people that want the instant satisfaction. The WoW players that they're going to be running around, they're going to be pressing M, and there's not going to be any map, and they're going to get annoyed. And yeah, it's going to be. I don't envy him for launch. I think it's going to be rough, no matter how much they plan for.
Yeah, it looks like MMO launches are always rough no matter what. And yeah, you never know whose radar it's on. I know like when Kungan played during the last playtest, the big World of Warcraft streamer, it seems like Night Harbor was laggy as hell. So you never know. Asmongold day one. I doubt it, but it seems like a lot of people say he hated EverQuest. He like vehemently dislikes it, so it just doesn't seem like that would be his kind of thing. But I imagine that it would be troublesome, like as far as like lag goes, launch day.
If it's popular enough, then the large content creators will come because it's free money.
Yeah. So okay, so for Monsters and Memories specifically, like when did you find out about Monsters and Memories? What was the thing that kind of grabbed you there when you first noticed the game? How did it come to your radar, basically?
So I was playing Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen.
Oh, nice. Oh, I can't wait to get your thoughts on that as well. I think I know how you feel, but
because it was easy to see because it was on Steam, so you're searching for new games, and obviously it's recommended because of the algorithm. And I tried it; it was all right. But then I saw a video by someone called Skeletal, and I watched his video, and that's basically what got me into Monsters and Memories. They were like talking about it, saying, "Oh, I've not played it, but I really want to." And I joined Discord, started chatting to people, played public test. I actually played the first public test I played with him.
oh,
It was me and
nice.
him in a group, and we played a little bit, and it was really good. And then I think my issue with sticking with it was I was the only one interested. So my brother wasn't interested, and a lot of my friends weren't. Which is why I kind of made Fable, because I've got no friends to play with. I may as well grab everyone else that's got no friends to play with and make a guild.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was like I said, just really reminded me of the old school RPGs that I used to play in. One thing that I really love about Monsters and Memories is it looks old, but if you zoom in, you can see that it's really high quality.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
textures are amazing. You can zoom in on that dwarf's beard, and it looks like your mustache. You know what I mean? It looks one for one. It's not like EverQuest where it's just a brown blob on your face.
Yeah. And that's a lot of people say, "Oh, this just looks like EverQuest. EverQuest looks better." But I don't think people so I mean, I love EverQuest, but at certain, obviously, the game is just kind of showing its age for sure. Like I hate the new models. They released new models around Luckland era, but I like the old like classic models as what you see on stream. But yeah, definitely, I mean, Monsters and Memories absolutely looks better, you know. For
Yeah,
sure. There's a
I
lot of
really don't
charm.
want to.
Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of charm in those old graphics, but in general, absolutely, Monsters and Memories looks better. Sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt you.
but that's the thing though. It was, like I say, it was over 25 years ago. Technology's come a long way in 5 years, never mind 25.
Yeah.
And it is a product of its time, but that's not a bad thing.
Hmm.
There's plenty of you know people still watch old cartoons. They're definitely a product of the time, and
Yeah.
you know it, it is good, but just
Yeah.
because it's just because it's how it was doesn't mean it can't be better. Which is what I see a lot of people complaining about in Monsters and Memories is they want it to be EverQuest. They want EverQuest 3, and they want Monsters and Memories to be EverQuest 3, and I don't think it ever will be. Um,
Did you ever play EverQuest, like just out of curiosity, or was your first MMO was World of Warcraft? Is that right?
my well, it RuneScape, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay, that's right.
first sort of like sort of actual MMO was WoW, yeah. I did actually play EverQuest. I played it sort of 2021, 22.
Oh, okay.
Um, I played it a little bit. Um, it was tough, but it was. See, I don't mind the low poly stuff, but sometimes it just like bugs me, like when like grass just looks like a green blob. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
like I said, I do sometimes wish they were like a HD texture pack that you could get, but
Yeah, no, it's
um,
the textures in Monsters and Memories are amazing for sure.
yeah.
Uh, okay, yeah. So what does Monsters and Memories need to do to become a forever game for you? Is this gonna be your game kind of going into the future? Is there other things on your radar?
Um, oh, to be a forever game. That's a good question. I guess sort of. It sounds counterintuitive, but you know, staying active. Keeping this keeping the server alive. Um, I did hear from Ali. I asked a question to Sean about you know would they if they got a sort of like an end of life plan for the game,
Mm.
and Ali said that they would sort of try and keep the game alive even if there was only a few people playing. Um, the thing that would probably turn me off and it not be a forever game is probably a cash shop, to be honest. I think if they started doing that, it'd kind of bum me out. Because I wouldn't even mind expansions. Um, I
Yeah.
think I think it already is a forever game for me, to be honest. I think it's hard. I think it's going to be hard for it to
Yeah.
change from that.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. And so, what's the most promising thing about Monsters and Memories for you personally?
Um, I would say the the leveling content. I know it sounds kind of like a dodoy,
I love
but
that.
um, they are building a world. It's yeah, it's
It's hard to put into words, we're just so blown away.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I'm with you.
it's tough because the like I said earlier with like bone construct. You know, the fact that you can't fight him above level 20 is that's mind blowing for me. Um,
Yeah, it's a good way to
you know,
prevent like
s-
us guild of all 60s just camping the area so you don't even ever have
yeah.
a
Well,
chance.
I I used to be really big into twinking in World of Warcraft. So if you're not aware, it's basically where you you set your character at a set level, and you basically get the best gear for that level. Um, Now I did ask if they were on about doing that in here, and they said probably not. Um,
Interesting
which I
because
mean, to be fair, is probably good because if they did that, then you know you'd just have an army of level 20s that are just they go into bone construct and they kill him in 2 seconds
yeah,
because obviously you can. I was explaining this to my dad. You can be level 1 and you can trade over your level 60 gear. So you are more powerful, but there is the damage cap. So there's a damage cap per level, so you can only do so much damage, but you've
yeah,
still got that bonus stamina. You've still got that bonus, AC. You've still got the bonus resistances. Um, so yeah, you don't do as much damage, but you've also got 4,000 HP, not 85.
yeah, yeah, for
So
sure, for sure.
I think that's I don't it would be good, but I don't want them to do it. Um, but yeah, I'm really interested to explore the world. So Sean said that there is places in the world that no one has ever been yet, and me and some of the guys from Fable said, "Okay, challenge met." So
I
we've been
love it.
exploring, and the guys reckon that if there was a place that has yet to be explored, they believe that it would be underwater or on the sort of coast. So
Hmm.
sort of like a cave that's on the coast that dips into somewhere. Um,
Yeah,
but there is a lot of places that, yeah, some of the guys were still finding places that they've not been to before, and you
that's
know,
very interesting. Yeah, I'm sure you
yeah,
can't talk about everything, but like, for as a rogue in the last playtest, I tried to like stealth and try to get to where that green castle was. Then I was also trying to figure out how to get to like that floating castle in Vale of Zintar. I was very interested to know what's up there and how you get up there. But I
yeah.
love
I will
that. I
say,
love points of
Rogue
interest.
is
Oh yeah,
Rogue is busted for stealth. It is absolutely insane. If you ever want to explore, play a rogue, you can literally pass through the mobs. They have said that there's mobs that can see through invisibility. I'm yet to find one, and there's no.
I
I'm
saw a
not sure if
couple.
this is a.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is a bug or working as intended, but as a level 1 rogue, I can stealth past a level 50, and it doesn't aggro onto me. So there's
Mhm.
no like in WoW. if you're level 1 and you stealth past to level 50, they'll see you.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, and as much to my short testing experience, that is not the case in M&M. So if you ever want to explore, that's the best way to do it. So
Yeah. What's your class gonna be going into EA? Like, what's your kind of plan there?
I knew you were going to ask me this. This is what a question that my brother keeps asking me constantly. I am unsure currently. So my main bread and butter is a fighter, like a warrior type.
Hmm.
But I am looking towards rogue because of the stealth mechanic. So I do like I do usually do the professions. So I'm usually like the profession person of the guild.
Okay.
And having a stealth, which is infinite and can't be seen through, is great for getting around. And all I have to do is sap a mob, and then I can harvest and run away. I've also been looking at wizard because it's something that I've not played before, and the portals are great. They've also got a spell where I can send somebody else home, so I can gate somebody else,
Hmm.
which is pretty good. And I do believe they've also got a group-wide one as well. So, if we're in, you get it at level 50, but let's say there's a level 60 version of Tomb of the Last Wormsbane, someone says, "Oh, there's a train coming." Well, just fucking get the fuck out of there, adios, We don't have to risk it. We just go,
Yeah.
and then we can always go back. You know what I mean? It's not like there was someone in the test, and I kind of disagreed with what their ethic was because they were farming a boss, and they had no food, no water, so there wasn't regenerating any HP or mana. So they had no mana, but they were saying that they don't want to leave the boss because then they have to give up their spawn. Now, in my opinion, if you've not got any food, you've not got any water, you can't sustain what you're camping. So surely you should just, that's me, hands up, I'm done, and just move on. But yeah, this guy
Were they getting some kind of help, or someone was bringing them stuff or healing them, or I mean, because yeah,
nope,
eventually you're not going to be
no,
able to do it because you're going to die trying to hold it, right?
no, yeah, they went no one were helping them.
Oh, okay.
They were just by themselves. So.
Yeah.
And then there's someone else who, if I say what they're doing, it's probably going to be obvious who it is. But
That's okay. You don't have to go into it if you.
I'll go into it because it's drama and
It's juicy.
Yeah, so there's someone on the alpha that does heroic solo self-found, and basically they joined a group and they said, "Oh, don't loot anything. I need the money." Now, as a new player and someone who's trying to, they've got into the alpha for the first time and they're trying to experience the game, you saying, "Oh, well, you come and kill all these mobs for me. I loot it all, and I get all the spoils because you don't need the spoils." I'm still leveling my cleric, so I also need the money. But
Yeah.
this person was like, "Oh no, I need all the money," blah blah blah. But they They also didn't tank anything. They just stayed back, because they don't want to die. But, they're also not doing it solo self-farm because they're in a group with 5 other people and,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, it's we all
But
need
yeah.
this stuff. I mean, it's weird because like
Yep.
there's already kind of like going into it. There's already kind of certain etiquette and things. Like I mean, a lot of us like older EverQuest players. There's a lot of kind of etiquette that still stays. I guess is the best way to put it. Like just being polite around camp checks or being kind of considerate of other players. I mean, you're always gonna have those like quote unquote bad apples, but. Yeah, it's
Yeah, this
it's interesting.
this guy thinks that he's the main character, and everyone else is there to support him. They're all his.
We're all just NPCs in his world, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well,
I know people like
so
that. Yeah, it's
yeah, I'm vehemently against it because I've been banned probably about 30 times in video games. So
oh wow.
it's more than once a year. Um, and a lot of my bans, so 2 of my bans are for botting in World of Warcraft. So I used to work sort of like 16 to 18 hours a day, and I didn't have time to level. So I would
Oh
bot
man,
in World of Warcraft.
that's quite the shift.
Yeah, I would bot in World of Warcraft to level my characters. So it weren't like I was farming gold or farming honor or anything like that. I just bought to level my characters.
Hmm.
And the rest of the times, I have been banned for abusive language towards people that are toxic. So someone starts being an arsehole, and I give them what for, but the problem is that these guys are wet wipes and they can only give out the abuse. They can't take the abuse. So, I guess nowadays people would call it like rage baiting. But yeah, I would give these people what for, and they didn't like it. So, but
Yeah.
when I was a kid, I watched a film called Bambi, and it says if you can't say anything nice, you don't say nothing at all. So, and it's tough sometimes because, sometimes you just wish you could put your hands through the screen and just strangle them. You know what I mean? It's just some
Yeah.
people are just and it's like what I was saying earlier. Some people just can't be helped. And if there is that person that is a bit of a cunt, just put them on ignore, just move on, just forget about them. I got them, I said blah 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 and ha ha ha. Whereas that person is, they've said something to you and they've moved on. They're not thinking about you, and it's up to you to let that affect you. You can sit at home and you can say, oh, Slayheim says, my armor's not even polished. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting there thinking about it, but Slayham's not thinking about it when he goes home. He's thinking, I really fancy a cheese pizza. I can't wait to get on EverQuest.
Yeah.
It's I think it carries over into games as well. Like, save yourself the hassle. If you don't like someone's being a dick. Just mute them, move on.
Yeah,
Life's too short.
I will say it's a great way to ruin the vibe. And that's kind of my thing too, It's like yeah, what makes a good group, I think, is just like that just curiosity to explore, just to have fun, to be flexible, to be open, and just kind of, Yeah, that's the number one thing is someone being a jerk or kind of like telling you how to play your class, you know? It's like, hey, I play a rogue and like you're doing it wrong. You need to play a rogue like this. Like you're hitting the wrong button, you're doing this. Like it can just be
Yeah,
such a buzzkill, you know? Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Um, wow, okay. Let's see. Where were we at? Do you have like what do you think that the devs kind of stick with? What's something that you hope the devs never ever change? I know you mentioned cash shop would probably be a deal breaker for you. Um, do you have any like worries or kind of concerns, I guess, about the game, or you're pretty happy with it so far? I think we might have covered a lot of that, but
Yeah, I think one thing for me would be I hope that the not even necessarily in the game, but I think there's one thing that I hope that the devs don't change about themselves, and it's that I hope the devs never change or lose their sense of wonder. They have this great, they're building. I said it into one of Sean's chats. Someone were complaining about, how do you keep the game relevant? And I said, they're not building just an MMO. They're building a world.
yeah,
You sure you don't care about housing, but you know, with with no houses, the game feels bare. I've seen several screenshots of Ashes of Creation, and it's just fields. It's just plain fields that go on forever, and it's just there's nothing there. It's just you know. So I hope that they never change or lose the sense of wonder, the sense of you know
yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of
the sense of can we do this? Can we do island expeditions? Can we do you know
yeah,
flying around on a dragon or you know just fantastical nonsense?
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of armchair developers out there for sure. Everybody's got their
Yeah,
idea of how
exactly.
to do it. um, yeah, okay. Wow. Let's see. How important is downtime to you? Travel, risk, kind of harsh death penalty. Um, that certainly makes the world feel more real, right? Would you say?
I think it adds weight.
Wait, yeah, that's a good way to.
So yeah, so it adds weight to your actions. It's sort of risk and reward. If I go into to Wormsbane, I am taking a risk and my actions have weight because it's not only that my presence is in the dungeon, but then because I'm in the dungeon and my group is in there, you know that then pushes out other people. So there's the camp etiquette, and if I'm farming High Marshal Fiona, you know that pushes other people away from that. So there's the weight there, and then if if we mess up and we die, you know, then someone else has a chance to sweep in,
Hmm.
and it creates this really delicate balance of social. I won't necessarily say like a social hierarchy, but like a social environment where you know I'm not encouraging people to like train mobs onto people, but I've been killed by I've been killed personally by someone that wanted our spawn at Area Blast the Wicked, and they trained mobs onto us to kill us.
Man, that's
So
that's rough.
yeah, but then like obviously the actions have consequences. So we know who them individuals are. And, they're noted down in a little black book, you know. But also, we could have, we saw them, coming into our spawn to, pull things over. So, we could have moved the camp directly on top of Area Blast and then pulled mobs to that location and took Area Blast before. It's not necessarily, I mean, it is their fault because obviously they trained us, but, we could have made a decision to move. We could have made a decision to change location inside the dungeon. And I think the death penalty is pretty good because it's. I think there is a little bit of a problem, and I know they are addressing this where like cantrips and stuff. Because I know as a rogue, you can basically carry a spell book around with you, and you can get people to put spells in the spell book, and then when they die, you trade them the spell book, and they can use the spells to get to their corpse.
That's
and
really
then they get the
clever.
spell book back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really clever.
And I know they're trying to solve it with cantrips and stuff, but it is good because you die and you've got to get back, and there's still that friction there. But some people might think, oh well, I can't get to my corpse, I'm fucked. But you've got like a necromancer. Necromancer can locate corpse, and you can get a cleric to res it. It's you get your XP that way. There's always as much as there is hurdles, there is plenty of methods that also topple those hurdles, which is good. And it's just about developing that game knowledge. And I think if their actions didn't have any weight to him, it wouldn't matter. And I think it'd just become a bit like WoW. Even World of Warcraft, they remove resurrection sickness. Which don't matter anymore. You just respawn wherever you want. So
Yeah,
well, not necessarily wherever you want, but you just respawn at the graveyard. It don't matter, but you do that in Monsters and Memories, and that's all your gear. Now, it's not only all your gear, but then your body decays in 7 days. So, you have to go and get it. You can't not get your body.
yeah, for sure.
I've not really done much travel in a group. I think, technically I have, I guess, when you exit in a dungeon. I've seen some people that literally just run for the end of the dungeon. I think that's stupid. I think that's really stupid. I think if you exit in a dungeon and you've not got gate, you should clear. And I think if you were a group and one person doesn't have gate, I think you should clear your way out and then everybody leave.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for
I think
sure.
training to zone line when you've just fed up, when when you're done, I think it's ridiculous. And it's also dangerous because you're training onto other people and then they get upset and then you end up with a bad name.
Yeah,
So.
no, for sure. You got to be considerate of others, and yeah, you got to understand how all that stuff works. It's just part of the social aspect of it all.
Yeah, actions have consequences.
Yeah. Do you have a stance on mystery? Should Monsters and Memories embrace sort of like not explaining everything?
Yeah, I agree that I don't think they should explain everything. Um,
Yeah,
I
it's all part of
think
it. It's
I think the mud options should be a bit more clear, as in like what you can do and say and stuff like that, because that step can be quite daunting for people who've not played
Yeah,
a mud-based game.
I agree. And
Um,
and I'll tell you what, that's myself included. A lot of the people I've talked to are just so thrilled about the mud commands, but I haven't really delved into it too deep. I haven't really had like, I don't want to say I've had a bad experience. I don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out to that level, you know? I just find it kind of frustrating sometimes. But it is interesting for sure.
yeah, there's a few places where you can like, you do like slash look and it tells you about the area. Now, some, you do slash look and it says you're in Tomb of the Last Wormsbane, and then there's other places where there's nothing there, but it says, condensation fills the room as drops of water drip from the walls, or and there's nothing there. But is there? Nobody knows yet. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think if they made the mud options more clear, as in what you can do, I think they should bring it up as a UI thing. So not necessarily you click a button and it does it for you, but just a very visible list. And I know they've got it on the website and stuff, but I think having it in game also doesn't it doesn't hinder anything.
Hmm.
I think there should literally just be a button that they press that brings up the list, as opposed to someone having. Because I think if you type /help, it brings up the list of things, but it also brings up the list of everything. It doesn't just bring up like the mud commands and stuff. So
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I think they should name it like uh, interactions. So like on the menu, it says like interactions because obviously you've got the interactions window. So obviously not many people might not know it as mud commands. They're obviously going to be looking for interactions kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. How do you feel about some of the stuff that I guess the community is like divided on, like whether or not there should be a map in the game, chat bubbles, what else was it? You know, uh, yeah, just to kind of name the few that comes to mind. How do you feel about it?
So I understand the map point. I've come from many games I've maps in, and it's sort of with the map. It sort of says, this is the area. You can go this far, go that far. It's sort of I sort of imagine it as like a floodlight. So it shines the floodlight on the whole area, and you can see everything. You know where to go. That there's trees here, and if I go into a new zone and I bring up the map and I see a little tiny path on the left, I'm thinking, oh, what's that? Whereas without the map, I only know of that because I've found it.
Hmm.
As for chat bubbles, I think chat bubbles are the stupidest thing in the world. I think they're absolutely pointless. I think the only time chat bubbles should exist is on a role playing server.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion as well. Yeah, it's I just don't think it fits for like the style of the game, the vibe of the game. I
It,
think it would
even
take
in
away.
even in World of Warcraft, I've got chat bubbles turned off. They're just it's an unnecessary UI element. It's just not needed.
Hmm.
I think it just adds to screen clutter. I think like I said, the only time it should be is in like a role playing environment, so then you can see, you know, if I'm role playing and I'm walking away, and then I see on the left a guard says, "Oh, are you there?" I know to react to that, and I can sort of stem that role play from that. But yeah, outside of that, chat bubbles are completely useless in my opinion.
Yeah, agree. All right, sweet. Well, we're that's pretty much like most of my Monsters and Memories related questions, unless you want to circle back to anything. Usually I like to end the segment with if you could bottle up one message to the developers and kind of send it to them, what would it be?
Fix guild permission issues.
Oh,
So
okay. Wow.
basically, in the guild ranks, you've got recruit, member, officer, and guild master.
Hmm.
And recruit and member do nothing.
Oh.
Officer can invite and kick people, but in order to invite people, you have to have everyone an officer. But then officers can't kick officers, so you have to make sure that everyone is an officer so that everyone can invite and not be able to mass kick people in the tantrum.
Oh,
So
okay. Interesting.
I reported it like many months ago, and then I spoke to Swanee about it. Swanee messaged me, or I messaged Swanee, um, and I do believe that it may have been raised with the development side of the team. You know, the coding side. So hopefully that gets fixed before EA, because that'll be silly otherwise. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe like an actual message would be, like an inspirational quote. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Shia LaBeouf.
Okay, nice. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Never stop dreaming. Never. You got to keep that imagination going.
Yeah, and it's absolutely that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to put it. And you can see too, like I mean, just from the previous playtest to where we are now, the game just looks better and better and better every single time. It's getting
Oh yeah,
closer.
100%.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about like some of these other sort of indie MMO projects? You know, you got Pantheon. Well, you know what? Let's start with one at a time because I don't want to throw too much at you. But yeah, how do you feel about Pantheon: Rise of the Fallen? I know you mentioned you briefly played it. Um, got
Um,
any thoughts? Good, bad, the ugly?
yeah, so I feel really bad for Jopavash because that man has got the worst job ever.
It's a tough job.
He gets all the shit and none of the thanks. So Pantheon, I think Pantheon is really good. However, there are some big issues with the team, because they have the early access server, and it was found out that a guild was basically getting a member of the staff to spawn in mobs
I heard
and
about that.
have
Yeah.
them instantly killed. So for those that are uneducated and they know WoW terms or something, they were spawning in like 10 Lich Kings and killing him instantly so everyone can loot the boss. They're spawning in Kel'Thuzad's, just instantly bang, 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 respawning everything. And, people were not happy because it is, yeah, sure, you're testing things, whatever, but it feels unfair for the rest of the community. You shouldn't do that. And I have heard um, something similar happening here. But when I spoke to Trent about it, he said that it was not what I was told. It was, without spoiling too much, it's an item in game that you can get. So the people that thought it was an exploit, it was actually an item that you can get in game, and it's just not been discovered by a lot of the masses. So
Okay.
yeah, it's basically like an undead dragon that you can get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, what about like a Drulin Online Adventures? Is have you is that on your radar at all? That's another one that I
It
really
is
enjoy.
actually, yeah.
Okay.
I played it a little bit on not the last test, but one of the tests before. I think it's really interesting. I know obviously they changed from EverCraft Online to Adrulan, and I mean I get why. Obviously they changed it so it weren't like people didn't think it was just like a Minecraft mod, because there is a sort of MMO Minecraft mod called RuneScape.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's good. The combat feels really good. It doesn't feel like too Minecrafty, but it's like a good balance because it's just. I mean, it's pretty much EverQuest, but we're a Minecraft skin. You know, and I think the main thing is with Adrulan is the art style. There's a lot of people that do not like the voxel look.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that, but for me, it kind of reminds me of like 8-bit graphics. You know what I mean? Because of
Yeah,
they are so blocky.
I could see that.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of that. And I honestly believe if they shrunk it down to, you know, size of your fingernail, it literally would just look like an 8-bit character. But because it's taking up all your screen, I think people are against it. I think it's also the Minecraft thing as well. Like there's a lot of people that hate on Minecraft just because it's Minecraft. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's tough, but it's a bold choice because that art style never fades. It's not. When you build a realistic MMO, by the time you release it, that art style is no longer relevant. It's no longer realistic because technologies move so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I did have a little look at Project Gorgon, but I've never played it, so
Yeah.
I've just sort of browsed it.
Yeah, that one seems interesting as well. I haven't played it myself either. Supposed to be really
Yeah,
whimsical, a lot of like wild stuff, like pigs talking and flying, or just random classes and whatnot. It
yeah.
seems fun. I just haven't got around to it myself. Any other
So
sort of games on the horizon or
um,
anything you're looking forward to? Or are you strictly going like all in Monsters and Memories?
at the minute, I'm pretty much all in on Monsters and Memories, but I have got
Same for
there's
me.
something on my. I'm just gonna boot up. I'm just gonna boot up Steam because there's something on my wish list that I saw. I think it's called like Forever or something. Um,
Oh, okay. Very cool.
let's
Somewhat sounds
see.
familiar to me, but
Yeah. There's also one called Darkcraft. That's like a Souls-like Minecrafty MMO. Um, but yeah, Forever. It's supposed to be like an action game sort of thing.
hmm
Um, but that just sort of looks like a cozy game. So it's set in a fantasy world, and you can build your own play style. It's not everything's not on rails. Another one was Apogea.
oh, that's right.
That's like
Yeah.
a isometric um, sort of low poly 32-bit kind of vibe.
hmm
Um, and another one that I played recently was Dracantos. That's like a Tibia style, I think it is. Um,
hmm
but yeah,
Okay.
that's basically what's on my radar at the minute.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, so if we're okay on time, there's a couple things here in closing. I guess I wanted to pick your brain on, but let's take a segue
Yeah,
into
of
like
course.
anime and JRPGs. Guy, because
Oh,
I was listening
okay.
to your podcast and you mentioned Grimgar, Fantasy of Ash, which I've
Yeah,
heard of it. I'm not familiar. I'd love to. I wish I used to really be into anime, but I just don't have so much time these days. And so
yeah, it's tough.
what's your favorite anime of all time, or what's like your uh,
Probably Grimgar, to be honest.
okay, all
Yeah,
right,
it's So basically, it's an isekai. So an isekai is it's a anime style where people are transported to a new world. So imagine that you're, you know,
I love
my
it.
name's Dave, and you wake up in Azeroth, you know, and that's basically an isekai. So the reason why I like Grimgar so much is that the combat is weighty. So there's I think they've got like 5 or 6 people in the team, and they all have like different classes. And they all pick the class. That it's not like an assignment or anything. It's not like a Harry Potter sorting hat. So they all pick the classes, and there's a guy that joins the team, and he's an experienced guy. He's been there. He's not like a new guy that's just shown up. But he's a priest. But because the others are so inexperienced, he has to frontline a bit. And the first fight that they do is with a goblin. So imagine you're playing Monsters and Memories, and you're fighting a rotting skeleton, and there's 6 people trying to take it down, but the goblin escapes, so they don't actually kill him, because the goblin is not just an NPC; he's a living creature, and the goblin also doesn't want to die, so he's trying to kill the party. And you see them grow over time. When they're going through some ruins, and they're looting the corpses, and they're trying to take stuff back to sell it and make money. But they need the money to live, to buy food, buy clothes, new weapons, etc. And it feels very much like
Yeah, it's like you're playing an MMO kind of. It's very like fantasy
yeah.
inspired. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it feels like you've gone back like 1,000 years. You know what I mean? Everything has weight. Everything's got a cost. It's not like a lot of problem I have with isekai is, you're the chosen one. You go in, you're the chosen guy. You do everything. A little bit of a montage, and
Yeah.
I think the main one would probably be like Sword Art Online. Like, yeah, it's an isekai, but it's still the chosen one. You never lose. Whereas, Grimgar, people die all the time. They fight like this kobold thing, and kobold like rips this guy apart and stuff, and that guy's dead. He's gone. You know what I mean? It's not like it's there's this story that's been developed around this character, and you see that the characters feel the weight of it. It's not just like a trope. But
Yeah. That's
yeah,
interesting. It's
it's
a
a good
interesting genre.
anime, but there'll never be another one because the studio that made it, the studio shut down in 2016, and the guy that did the art for it died like a year later.
Oh, that's a
So
shame. That's a shame.
yeah, so there'll pretty much never be, not unless it gets like remade by another thing. But there's a manga series for it, because obviously that's what it got adapted from. But
Okay, yeah.
yeah, Grimgar probably my favorite one. Second, it'd probably be like Dragon Ball, like original Dragon Ball, not like Dragon Ball Z or anything like that. Just original Dragon Ball.
Okay, interesting.
Because
What about
that's
third
like
best?
hero.
Oh yeah, sorry,
It's
sorry.
like third best. Third best.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like top three
Uh,
if you had any.
um, that's a good question. Oh, probably the probably like Pokemon.
Okay.
I don't not really many people would call it an anime. And probably more call it a cartoon, but um,
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
that's just 'cause I like Pokemon.
Yeah, I like it too. Dragonite's my favorite. I grew up with like the first
That's
generation.
crazy. Dragonite is also my favourite.
Dude, that's
I've got
awesome.
loads of plushies. I've got loads of plushies of Dragonite, and I've got loads
Dude,
of
that's awesome.
Dragonite cards as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got this one as a gift here. It says, I mean, I haven't kept up with like the cards very much. I don't even know like what. I guess this is
Oh
like
yeah,
a someone
like
gifted.
yeah, it's a rainbow rare. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not
Wow.
coming out too well on the camera, but yeah, that's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
something cool we have in common. Yeah, for sure. Now,
Yeah.
a bit of a
Small world.
yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah, no, I love anime. I love fellow anime enjoyers, and that seems like I mean, it's in some MMOs, but it's not really like this. Like the MMO crowd doesn't necessarily love the anime stuff sometimes. I don't know. So it's kind of hard to find fellow
Yeah.
anime enjoyers, you know.
Yeah. Too weeby.
Yeah. Do you have like an underrated anime that you really love or that should maybe deserve more attention that people don't, give it a lot of attention?
Um, that's a good question. Um,
Or do you have like
I
a
don't think I really do.
oh yeah,
I think if you ask my brother this question, he'd say Doctor Stone. That's one anime that he tries to keep getting me on. He keeps going on about it.
nice. You know,
Apparently, it's really good.
it's decent, I've heard. Yeah, I think I started watching the first season. I'm not sure why I stopped. I remember enjoying it. I think I was like caught up in like Final Fantasy 14 at the time or something. Um,
Yeah.
do you have a favorite character in anime? Like someone you think is the best? My argument is Itachi from Naruto. I feel like Itachi can 1v1 anybody in anything. Marvel, like you name it. Itachi is like my favorite. So,
Um,
but I don't get to
honestly, probably Goku in Dragon Ball. 'Cause
Goku. Goku is amazing. Yeah.
he's just like some stupid kid. You know what I mean? He don't really like understand things, and like when when you talk to kids in your family and stuff like that, they're very similar to Goku. They I guess naive. You know what I mean? But it's like it's not like a naivety as in like when you meet an adult who's like stupid. You know, they've got like that, still got that like childlike innocence. And Goku is like but he's on his own journey, and he's a he's a good character, and he's a good good as in like good alignment. Um, and he just wants to do things because it's good, but then he also don't understand social norms, as most people don't when they're growing up, and you know, there's some I guess like people nowadays they call it like fan service, like obviously his interactions with Bulma and stuff, and you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
YouTube demonetization kind of vibes.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
great. Goku's got that kind of childlike kind of innocence, purity, or maybe curiosity, you want to call it. It's kind of raw and unfiltered. It's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Unfiltered would be definitely the word I'd use.
Yeah.
Uh,
Man, that's great. Yeah, I was just curious, and this is totally optional here. I thought about this kind of as we were chatting. So like you don't have to share exactly specifics, but you mentioned you're in UK, and so my
yeah,
father
yeah.
used to be kind of like a semi-professional soccer player in our hometown
All right.
in
Yeah, yeah.
Bulgaria, and so generally I love soccer, and so my dad's he's been a lifelong Manchester United fan, one of the uh, great Bulgarian players of our era kind of used to play for the team. So we've just followed Manchester United historically, and
Oh,
so
interesting.
I love the British Premier League in general. Arsenal,
Hmm.
Liverpool, Chelsea. There's so many great teams. Is there like a club, I guess, that you really enjoy, or people are kind of crazy about in your
Um,
area? I don't. Are you a soccer fan at all, or football? I should say. The real football here in
yeah, football.
America.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. None of that pansy American stuff. Yeah.
that's right.
Um, yeah. So I live near Sheffield. So a lot of my
Sheffield United. That's a team there, right?
well, there's Sheffield United, but there's also Sheffield Wednesday as well. So there's two teams in
Oh,
Sheffield. So there's the Owls and there's the Blades.
oh, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, so it's always like divisive because obviously you're either a Blades fan or a Wednesday fan. Um, Personally, I'm not a big watcher of sport, more of a player of sport. So I used to play football when I was younger. I used to play goalie, so I used
Oh,
to play in goal.
nice.
Um, yeah, but I enjoy sport. Like I said, I'm just not a big fan of watching it.
I gotcha. No
I don't mind
worries.
it sometimes, but yeah, I think it's more just enjoyable to get involved. But it's also the same with like games. Like I usually watch Twitch streams to interact with the person, so more like just chatting. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I can go in, talk to people, ask them their opinion on something, as opposed to watching like gameplay.
yeah,
But I've got some friends who literally all they do is watch people play a video game, and I don't really understand that. I'd rather play the game. You know what I mean? I'd rather play
yeah.
play football or play Monsters and Memories or play World of Warcraft as opposed to
I
thing.
gotcha.
But I do enjoy the chat. I do enjoy the chat.
I like it too. Yeah. No, it's great. Um, all right. Well, what's next for you and for Fable, or sort of like where can people find you? Obviously, I'll plug all your stuff. Any shout outs you want to give or anything like that? Are you actually? So I wanted to ask, are you going to be going in? Are you going to be streaming? Are you going to be doing any kind of content creation, or are you just purely going to be running the guild and sort of doing your podcast there?
Yeah, so probably next thing for us for Fable is just sort of keeping the guild alive, keeping people recruiting. We're always on the lookout for new members. Um, as for me, probably yeah, like keeping the guild alive. But I do like creating guides. So I actually released a video yesterday or day before, which was a guide to Tomb of the Last Wormsbane. So it was a
Oh, awesome.
visual guide in which people could find
Oh,
uh,
I watched
dungeon
it.
dungeon
Yes,
routes.
beautiful.
Yeah, dungeon routes to the bosses. Because I see a lot of people getting confused, don't know where they're going, and I basically, I think I did on some parts, but I basically tried to explain, you know, what dropped from the boss, but not exactly what dropped. So, for example, on like Lieutenant Gregan Snide, he drops a two-handed sword with like 3 strength, 3 stamina, fire resistance, and health on it. You know, and I sort of like the mystery of people figuring out what the item is. Some people think it's a strength and stamina sword, but is it a good strength and stamina sword? That's for them to find out. They want to. I want people to still be able to experience something as opposed to saying like, oh well, I've been in here and I need to get this loot and this loot and like a min max list. Like a best in slot list from like World of Warcraft would have. Um,
Hmm.
as far as like streaming, I'm not really sure about streaming. I've used to do it on some of my older channels, but I've not really done it for a long time. But yeah, mostly for me, it'll be sort of content creation around sort of guides. So, finding things, maybe not like farming routes, like, oh, this is the best farming route for mining. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got planned a guide for, ancient crypt and grain cellar and Telekir and stuff like that. Sort of routes, similar kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
This is the route to this, blah blah blah. And sort of trying to find some secrets inside the dungeons, and just sort of stemming the yearning for mystery and exploration, I guess, really.
It's
Obviously, I
beautiful.
also got my podcast that I do with Squats the Goblin, and I Purge People. That's the Night Harbor podcast. We're sort of doing a monthly release up until early access. So we're aiming for the first of the month, and I think up until EA, and then it might be sort of more often. So it might be like every 2 weeks or even every week.
Mm-hmm.
It'll pretty much depend on how much stuff that we've got to talk about, because we're wanting to do a sort of like an introduction, a community section where we talk about what's going on in the community, showing off other people's videos, showing off other people's fan art and stuff like that, and just sort of giving recognition to the community. And then it'll be a sort of central talking point. So it'll be talking about class archetypes, or FOMO versus evergreen content, and then it'll sort of be like a wind down, final thoughts kind of thing.
Love it.
Um,
I love it.
but yeah, that's the vibe that we're going for. Not really sure if it'll plan out, but you know, you don't know unless you try, I guess. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well,
I guess as for like a shout out, I'd probably say a big shout out to Criddle. If you can't catch his stream, you watch Criddle games. He does a great recap.
yeah.
Shout out to Slayheim. He's a great guy.
Oh, wow. Thanks.
Yeah. Mm.
That's great. I appreciate it. But yeah, man, no,
Yeah, I mean,
this
I
was
think you're
great.
doing a great thing. In the community, it's certainly something that's different. I've never really seen anything like this in other communities, and especially to bring on such a tiny creator, like myself. I really appreciate it. It's,
No worries. It's my dream to talk to like just the players too, not just like content creators or like other streamers and stuff. I want to get the perspective of guild leaders, like crafters, just PvP people, just a little bit of everything, it's great that there's been like so many people willing to talk, because I mean, I'm not a huge content creator myself, so it's great. Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate
yeah.
it.